Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Nirav Shah, and I'm the Commissioner of the New York State Department of Health. I'd like to welcome everyone to the New York City area and extend a warm welcome to Governor Cuomo. Today, we will hear from State Police Superintendent Joe D'Amico, District Attorney Cy Vance, and then Governor Cuomo. We're here today to announce a new effort in the state's fight to crack down on dangerous, illicit, synthetic drugs. These substances are marketed as bath salts, but are really closely related to amphetamines and cocaine, as well as synthetic marijuana, and pose a major risk to the health of the public. When consumed, these substances produce dangerous effects including hallucinations, paranoia, delusions, suicidal thoughts, violent behavior, as well as chest pains, increased blood pressure, increased heart rates, kidney failure, and even death. Recently, we've seen a significant rise in instances of New Yorkers using synthetic drugs, as sellers and buyers have been able to distribute these substances while avoiding existing drug laws. In 2011, there were 39 reported emergency room visits upstate as a result of these bath salts. And already in 2012, there have been 191 such visits, with 120 of them occurring in June and July. According to the New York State Poison Control Center, in 2010, there were only 20 calls concerning synthetic marijuana poisonings. There were 291 in 2011, and this year there have already been 321 through the first 6 months of 2012. As a public health official, I can only stress how important it is to get these dangerous drugs off the streets. It's a growing problem, and I commend the governor for his work to protect New Yorkers from these harmful substances. The new regulations issued today at the governor's request by the Department of Health and approved by the Public Health and Health Planning Council will expand the existing list of prohibited drugs and chemicals to include dozens of other substances that are now used to make synthetic drugs, ensuring that distributors can no longer skirt the law by simply modifying the drug's ingredients. In addition, the regulations will allow for the first time that an owner of an establishment and/or an employee selling synthetic drugs can be charged with possession of an illicit substance. The regulations also increase the criminal penalties for those who violate these rules. Violators will face fines of up to $2,000 for every violation, which can be stacked, and up to 15 days in jail. And there's a new expedited process allowing the Department of Health to shut down the stores that sell these drugs. We'll also be launching a new public health outreach effort and campaign, including a revamped new website and a 24-hour hotline where New Yorkers can report witnessing purchasing and distribution of these drugs. The number is 1-888-99-SALTS, and the website is linked off of the governor's homepage. I'd like to now turn it over to State Police Chief Superintendent Joe D'Amico. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Good afternoon. I'm Joseph D'Amico, Superintendent of the New York State Police. Before I start, I just want to recognize the men and women of law enforcement who are standing up here with me. Orange County Sheriff Carl Du Bois, members of Nassau County Police Department, and of course, troopers from the New York State Police. Synthetic drugs such as bath salts have become part of a growing trend we in law enforcement are witnessing in illicit designer drug use. They've become a major public safety issue in New York State, and in fact all across the nation. Categorized as stimulants, they have the same dangerous effect on the human body as an amphetamine or cocaine. And with the chemical makeup of these drugs constantly being altered and the long-term effects being unknown, they may actually even be more dangerous. Despite state and federal efforts to bring bath salts and synthetic drugs under control, sellers use a variety of names such as White Lightning, Snow Leopard, Tranquility, Zoom, Ivory Wave, Red Dove, Vanilla Sky, and countless others, as you see up here, to help conceal the identity of these drugs, and to appeal to the buyers. We in law enforcement have seen increasingly violent and vicious attacks from individuals under the effects of these substances. The many stories of bizarre attacks and irrational behavior from people on these substances have been well publicized, in most cases due to the extreme nature of the actions of these individuals. These drugs often produce behaviors such as suicidal tendencies, paranoia, and other forms of erratic, violent, or aggressive actions. These behaviors put innocent bystanders, family, and law enforcement in extreme danger. Tougher and more wide-sweeping state criminal laws are not yet here. Although federal law bans the manufacture and sale of many of these substances, as a result of the new regulations put in place today, thanks to Governor Cuomo, local law enforcement officers, including the New York State Police, will be able to pursue the violators and refer individuals who continue to sell these substances to the local DAs for prosecution, rather than having to rely on the federal justice system for relief. We look forward in the State Police to working with the Department of Health and with their Bureau of Narcotics Enforcement to enforce these new rules and to protect all New Yorkers from the harmful effects of bath salts and other synthetic drugs. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Manhattan District Attorney Cy Vance.
Thank you, Superintendent. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm the Manhattan District Attorney, and I'm also joined today by District Attorney Kathleen Rice from Nassau County. Today's action by the Governor and Health Department will allow us in law enforcement to get out in front of a serious problem, one that highlights the ever-evolving nature of drug abuse in this country and the challenges we face in getting the drugs off our streets, away from our communities, and especially away from our kids. The manufacturers of synthetic drugs like bath salts have often stayed just one step ahead of the law by continually changing the ingredients in these easily available, but as the superintendent indicated, incredibly dangerous mixtures. No more. Today, we are significantly expanding the substances banned for sale in New York, which are often sold, as the superintendent just told you, under deceptive, almost poetic names like Tranquility and Red Dove. These do not even begin to hint at the severe health risks, violent acts, and destruction these synthetic drugs are capable of. Kids take these without knowing what they're getting into and have effects much worse than they bargained for. Now, here in Manhattan, we have not seen a major outbreak of synthetic drug use as we continue to fight cocaine, crack, heroin, and in recent months, an increase in PCP use. But in my role as president of the New York State District Attorneys Association, I hear often from colleagues upstate who are being confronted with extremely serious cases that cry out for immediate action. As law enforcement agencies have sought to crack down on the distribution and sale of bath salt and similar drugs, the drugs manufacturers have chemically modified them to make them legal under state law. It became clear that as the drugs have changed, we needed to expand the law. And as you heard, the new regulations expand the list of prohibited drugs and chemicals to include dozens more substances that are now used to make synthetic drugs, ensuring that those distributors can no longer skirt the law by simply modifying the drug's ingredients. Enforcement alone, we all know in law enforcement, isn't the only answer. Prevention, education, treatment are equally as important. And the creation of the hotline that was stated earlier, 1-888-99-SALTS, is going to help in that effort. It's the duty of all of us in the law enforcement business to protect the public. And I would now like to introduce Governor Cuomo. I know district attorneys across the state join me in thanking him on this and so many other public enforcement and safety issues in which he's taken a leadership role, and for taking this issue on head on. Governor.
Thank you, and good afternoon to all of you. First, I would like to welcome and acknowledge the men and women of law enforcement who are with us here today and are doing a great job. Let's give them a round of applause. You heard from Commissioner Shaw, our Commissioner of Health, who's done an extraordinary job today in getting these regulations passed with a unanimous vote of the Public Health Council, and we applaud him for moving so quickly. Commissioner, we thank you very much. State Police Superintendent Joseph D'Amico does a great job every day and is doing an exceptionally great duty on this case and this investigation, and especially going forward. Superintendent, thank you very much for what you're doing. And to District Attorney Cy Vance, who we appreciate what he's doing in Manhattan County, and we also, as he mentioned, he's also president of the statewide District Attorneys Association. And this is an issue that is really statewide in scope, and we thank him for his leadership on that issue today. Let's give him a round of applause. And Kathleen Rice, the Nassau County District Attorney who's dealing with this in Nassau. Kathleen, thank you very much for being with us today. I think we start with this issue just as a matter of language and a matter of clarity. There are a lot of words that are used when we are talking about this topic. Designer drugs, synthetic marijuana, bath salts. My word for this compound is poison. That's my word. And these words are all misleading and deceptive. Designer drugs. It has nothing to do with designers. Bath salts. It has nothing to do whatsoever with any bathtub, bath water, nothing to do with salts. These were all words that were part of the fraud and part of the scam. This is poison. These are illegal drugs. This is the same battle that we've fought day after day for decades. This is the fight against illegal drugs. It is the same enemy we faced before. New face on an old enemy. And whether it's methamphetamine or it's crack cocaine or in the old days was heroin, this is just the latest incarnation of a fight that has gone on for decades. Now this incarnation is in some ways more insidious, more arrogant, more brazen than past situations. Because the plan here was to sell the drug legally over the counter. This is not being sold on a street corner. This is not in an alleyway. This is in broad daylight, in convenience stores, gas stations, head shops, all around the state, all around the country. And the plot here, the scheme here, was to call it a legal substance and put it in a fancy envelope with nice colors and nice names and attract young people to it, and a distribution network, statewide, nationwide, all commercial vendors. That's why it's so dangerous, this plot. And that's why we have to start with clarity and understanding. It has nothing to do with the words they're using. Don't be deceived. And it is an illegal drug. And that's what we proclaim today loud and clear. State has passed emergency regulations through the Department of Health, Public Health Council, that are very simple. It is illegal to sell or possess these substances, period. Clerk in a store can't sell it, store owner can't sell it, you can't buy it, you can't carry it on you, you can't put it in your desk at home. It is illegal to sell or possess. Punishable with a civil penalty, punishable by up to 15 days in jail. For repeat offenders, establishments that sell repeatedly, the Department of Health has the authority to actually close down the establishment. So that is the message today, loud and clear. This is a problem that is growing exponentially at a frightening rate. You heard the numbers from the health commissioner, but I can tell you all across the state and all across the country, it is moving like fire through dry grass. It is going to take us all to win this battle. It's going to take law enforcement, and I'm glad they're here with us today. It's going to take parents to inform themselves of this substance, what it looks like, how a child may behave on it. It's going to take educators, teachers. It's going to take friends and citizens. But we take the first step today. And I thank you for joining us today on this important announcement. Now let me invite the district attorney, the commissioner, and the superintendent with me. Any questions you might have? Thank you very much for being with us. Any questions for myself and my colleagues, sir?
Governor, after explaining the dangers of these, why health department regulation and not a full law with stiffer penalties?
The Assembly and the Senate were considering a law this past legislative session. They did not reach an agreement. There is no law that was passed. So we're proceeding under the state's authority to issue health regulations. Now, make no mistake, it is illegal under the health regulation. And you can go to jail for violating a health regulation. So it is still a stiff penalty. And we're using, as I said, the regulatory power because the legislature did not pass a law on this topic in the last session. Courtney?
Governor, there was obviously a regulation passed last year. So what were the weaknesses with that regulation, and what does this regulation do to remedy those weaknesses?
Last year, we passed a Department of Health regulation that banned the sale by the establishment. This goes 2 steps further. This makes it illegal to sell by an establishment or possess as an individual. As I said, punishable by up to 15 days in jail. And it also expedites the Department of Health's ability to close an establishment that is a repeat violator. Anything, Superintendent?
I would just add, if I may, Governor,
Please.
that it is the power of the statute to permit law enforcement to go after the establishments themselves that I think is a powerful tool that can't be understated. You got to follow the money. If you can minimize the opportunity for people to make profit and for these stores to remain open, then you have an impact in interdicting the chain of getting it onto street corners, as the governor said, and that's what's so particularly pernicious about the way this drug is marketed.
Is the Attorney General's efforts in this direction part of this, or is that a separate track that he's pursuing?
I think you have a number of tracks that we're pursuing simultaneously. You have the federal government, which is focusing on the manufacture, sale, distribution. The Attorney General is bringing legal actions. The Attorney General will also bring legal actions for the Department of Health under the ban in closing establishments. This then is a regulation that district attorneys can use, local police departments can use all across the state to, as the DA mentioned, to close down establishments or for an individual in possession. You know, this is not just about the establishments. Distribution and the outlet of distribution obviously is one of the most effective ways to close it. But this is also binding on individuals. And that's important. You know, young people have to understand there is a consequence to their actions. And it is illegal to possess this substance. And they have to be aware of that because they will be held accountable. Police can be involved, just the way any illegal substance. The police, if you have an illegal substance, you violate a law. Here you're violating a state regulation, and you can be held accountable.
Where will more attention be drawn to the drugs that are sold on the corners of streets or the synthetic drugs that are sold over the counter?
You know, by volume, well, you have to do both, right? It's an interesting question. You have, from time to time, you will have an increase in certain drugs or certain types of drugs. Or you'll have a new phenomenon. So as I mentioned before, you know, methamphetamine or crack cocaine at one time spread very quickly. I believe, and what the data says, is that this is now a rapidly growing phenomenon. And it was much different than past phenomena. You know, you always started, in the other cases, there was no pretense but that the drug was illegal. Here the scam was trying to sell it as a legal drug. which I think makes it more insidious than some of the past episodes. But I believe this is, and statewide, this is the growing problem in this arena.
Would you support additional legislation to make this a felony-level crime?
I think this is a very good start. I think let's start enforcing this and see how it goes. And if we need to increase the penalties, I would be supportive of that.
Slightly off topic, Senator Chartered stock plummeted today after the State Department of Financial Services accused it of violating money laundering laws. Just wondered if you could comment on that and where we go from here.
It's more than slightly off topic. When you say that, kind of radically off topic. But that's okay. The Department of Financial Services has commenced an investigation. That's their job. That's what they do. Just because they're starting an investigation doesn't mean that anyone has done anything wrong, right? They're just trying to get the facts, and they're trying to get the information, and they're doing what they're supposed to do.
How is your office involved with that? With it all?
The Department of Financial Services is an agency of the state. Yes, Courtney.
Governor, I have an off topic as well. Are you?
How off topic, Courtney, would you say?
It's all relative.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Are you and the state controller working on a super control board to contemplate taking over the finances of municipalities?
No. You have a number of municipalities that are in very serious financial condition. The current mechanism, if a municipality, a county, a city, a town has dire financial circumstances, the state can appoint a control board to come in and monitor the finances with certain legal authority to adjust the finances, contracts, revenues, et cetera, and an approval process. Nassau County District Attorney is here. Nassau County happens to have a financial control board. Yonkers Financial Control Board. There have been a number in the past. So the question would be, how do you use that mechanism going forward? But you would have to see what the specifics are, what locality, what municipality, what's the problem, what are you trying to solve before you design the solution. You need to understand the problem.
Governor, in light of the mass shootings this summer, do you believe there should be more restrictive gun laws in New York and also across the country?
You know, Tom, I think it's an issue I've worked on for many, many years. I think it's the gun violence has reached an undeniable point where it's hard for anyone to refute the damage that's being done. And I do believe it's time to find out what else we can do and explore what else we can do. We have a number of legislative proposals that I think we'll be taking up the next legislative session.
Related to that, do
Last
you
one.
support the bills that have been proposed by Senator Janaris, and what other legislative proposals might you yourself support on the gun issue?
You know, I support micro-stamping. We put forth a number of proposals in the past. Senate has proposals. The Assembly will have proposals. And I look forward to the next legislative session discussing all the legislative proposals and seeing if we can come up with a consensus package.
Governor, on education, I ask two questions. One is, are you open, because I know you have a commission now that's looking at potential changes to the education system. Are you open to performance per pay or merit-based pay for teachers or educators? And secondly, what do you make of the law that was signed by Governor Christie yesterday that would make it longer or more difficult to obtain tenure and to keep tenure?
I think there's no doubt. What we've been doing here in this state is we have been moving towards a performance-based education system. We spent a lot of time the past few months and last session getting an evaluation system done for the state so we can evaluate teachers. And we know what teachers are doing well, what teachers need assistance. We can learn what lessons to replicate statewide, what's not working. And I believe in what we call performance funding. We now have education funding that is premised on the accomplishment of tasks. Why? Because if you want performance, incentivize performance. And there has to be an incentive and there has to be a sanction. And if a school district or a school gets the same amount of money, no matter what the performance, no matter what the product, don't be surprised when you're not incentivizing improvement. So I believe that's the way we have to go. I believe in the evaluation systems that we're putting in place and that localities will be putting in place next year. We have said if a locality doesn't have an evaluation system in place next year, they're not going to get an increase in state funding. So that's our first step. If a school district wants money from the state and they want an increase in funding, the school district has to perform. I'm not an expert on the Jersey law, so I have no comment on it.
What about on the actual merit pay for educators, teachers, and administrators?
Well, I believe off the evaluation, the point of the evaluation is to be able to reward teachers based on performance. So that would be the point of the evaluation system.
Governor, just also off topic, but when do you plan on making endorsements, and how do you plan on helping the Democrats take back the Senate?
The political season is coming upon us, and as we get closer to Election Day, I'll have endorsements to announce. And it's basically on the issues and what a person's experience is and what their plans are going forward and how our agendas line up. What I would like to see the state do, what I believe in about the state government, and how that aligns with their opinions. Last question, Courtney.
It's my understanding that you're only going to the DNC for one day. Is there a reason why you're taking a passive role?
Because I am governor of the state of New York, and I have a lot to do as governor of the state of New York, and I want to do the best job I can as the governor of the state of New York, and I do that best being in New York. Thank you very much, guys.